Hello, everybody. I'm Justin.
And I'm Nick.
And we
are
are
Fantasy Football in the Zone.
You're lucky you're sitting here because you should be sitting on the bench. If you saw last week's episode, he fumbled twice on the show. And he shouldn't be activated, but I decided I needed him. But now that Week 14 is almost here, and
it's playoff time.
Well, it is here. It is here. The Jacksonville Jaguars defeated the Houston Texans yesterday. And who did you watch yesterday, and who did you see?
I was watching Ben Tate and MJD. MJD performed fine, and I liked him going into the game. And I wanted to see how Ben Tate would perform. He's usually chasing fantasy points, and I thought he was going to have a big game.
We said he was only about a flex, and he only had 53 yards. And I don't even know if that's a flex option.
He had 7 points in a PPR
I think he's just a guy that you could play the matchup with. And this was a pretty good matchup, and he didn't do anything. So does that worry you?
It worries me a lot. I don't think he's nothing more than a 3
and also,
flex
Matt
starter.
Traub entered the game, and he had a touchdown, almost 200 yards. That's more than Chad Henne, but Chad Henne had two touchdowns. Do you think he has any value going on?
Chad Henne or Matt Traub?
Both of them.
I think Chad Henne has Desperation 2 value, but I don't think Schaub has any value.
I know that fantasy stars, there really are none on Thursdays, and I said I like Andre Johnson. He had a big game. He had 154 yards, no touchdowns, and he's an elite receiver, top 10, right?
I think he's top 10, but I still think somehow he's a number 2 wide receiver. I don't think you could play him as one.
Yeah, but I think depending on the matchup, he has low on one abilities.
He has low on one abilities on most weeks, but some weeks he's not locked in.
Now let's start. I'll start sit-ems. I'll start sit-ems, and let's start off with the quarterbacks.
The two guys that I like are Joe Flacco and Ryan Fitzpatrick. The reason I like Flacco this week is Flacco is going to be having a lot of garbage time against the Broncos, and garbage points count just as much as close game points.
Two quarterbacks I like this week is Nick Foles and whoever starts for the Bears, whether it's Jay Cutler or Josh McCown. We all know that Nick Foles has no interceptions, but he has so many touchdown passes, and that's what I like for a quarterback. Not a lot of turnovers and many touchdowns. That's what you need for your starter, and I think he became a top 10 quarterback in fantasy. Right now he's playing top 5, and I think if you picked him up, you're lucky because you're going to make a playoff run with him. And I want to talk about the starter for the Bears. Whether it's McCown or Cutler, whoever you have, if you have McCown, go get Cutler because they've both been playing phenomenal, either way who it is, and they both have a good matchup against the Cowboys, and the Cowboys been atrocious against fantasy quarterbacks.
And my two safe QBs are Andrew Luck and Eli Manning. Andrew Luck been on a really tough slide when he lost Reggie Wayne, sorry. And I don't think he's playing like a low-end 1, borderline 1. He hasn't been very good. And I don't like Eli because he's been struggling all season, and you cannot trust him at all in the playoffs.
Two guys I don't like this week is Kaepernick. Kaepernick, against Seattle, he really doesn't do much. And Cam Newton, you probably cannot sit Cam Newton unless you have maybe a Nick Foles. You were lucky to pick him up because the Saints been pretty good against quarterbacks defensively. But you probably got to start Newton, but beware if you do.
Yeah.
Let's start off with the running backs now. I like Steven Jackson and DeMarco Murray both this week. Steven Jackson, he hit his peak last week, and I think he has a great matchup against Green Bay Packers. And the Packers have not been able to stop their run. And DeMarco Murray, we saw what he did last week, 3 touchdowns, and he has a great matchup this week because the Bears, they can't stop anybody on the run since Lance Briggs is hurt.
Let's move
running backs.
My star running backs are Le'Veon Bell and Ray Rice. Le'Veon Bell been pretty good as of late, and he has a great matchup with the Miami Dolphins coming up.
Let's start with the sit running backs now. Two guys I don't like is Darren Sproles and Jennings. Sproles hasn't really been doing anything in late. And Rashad Jennings, be careful. He does have a concussion, but if he does play, I'm not a fan of him against the Jets. Pretty tough matchup against the Rams.
My sit running backs are Frank Gore and Donald Brown. Frank Gore doesn't do anything really
against Seattle.
And that's who he's going up against this week. So I think he's not more than a flex low in 2 this week.
Now let's go to the start wide receivers. I like Vincent Jackson Jeffrey this week. The Bears Vincent Jackson's going up against the Bills. The Bills secondary is very banged up. They can't stop anybody. And Alshon Jeffrey, we saw what he did last week. And Brandon Marshall takes away a lot of coverage, and he's open a lot of time.
My star wide receivers are Keenan Allen and Torrey Smith. I like Torrey Smith after what Alshon Jeffrey did, and Keenan Allen been playing great, and plus he has a good matchup.
2 wide receivers I don't like this week is Danny Amendola and Michael Crabtree. Michael Crabtree will be going up against Richard Sherman, and he doesn't seem 100% to me. And Danny Amendola, he hasn't been doing anything all year, and he's probably going up against Joe Hayden.
Let's move on to the sit wide receivers. My sit wide receivers are Anquan Bolden and Stevie Johnson. Stevie Johnson is going up against Revis, and Anquan Bolden has a bad matchup.
I disagree with you. I like Anquan Bolden this week. I understand he's playing Seattle, but Richard Sherman is going up against Crabtree, and Kaepernick knows what Richard Sherman could do, and he will give the ball a lot to Bolden. And Brandon Browner is suspended, another top corner for them, so I do think he could get a lot of targets and a lot of catches PPR leagues, and he's a red zone threat.
Vernon Davis is still on that team,
yes,
so he gets some of the targets.
But he can't throw to Vernon Davis every time.
And Seattle's still good, pretty good defense without Brandon Browner.
Yeah, but Seattle has a tough run, good run defense. They're gonna have to throw the ball a lot. Crabtree will see a lot of targets, but I think Bolden will see most of them with Vernon Davis. Now let's move on with the star tight ends. I like Jared Cook and Jason Witten this week. You're definitely not going to be able to sit Jason Witten anyway, but he's on my starts because I think he's going to be possibly the number 1 tight end this week. He has a great matchup against the Bears. Like I said, their linebackers are banged up right now.
Yes.
Lance Briggs is not there, and Jared Cook. Last time he played, the Cardinals, he had 2 touchdowns.
My star tight ends this week are Charles Clay and Tony Gonzalez. Tony Gonzalez has a good matchup in the Packers, and I expect big day tight end 1 numbers.
My 2 sit tight ends are Rob Hausler and Jordan Cameron. I'm not a big fan of Rob Hausler, especially in playoff time, and he has a tough matchup against the Rams, and Jordan Cameron too inconsistent lately.
My sit tight ends this week are John Carlson and Vernon Davis. Vernon Davis has a bad matchup, and even though I said I don't like Anquan Bolden either, I don't like him either. Seattle is tough.
So you're saying sit everybody on, you said Frank Gore, Anquan Bolden, and Vernon Davis. I disagree with you with Bolden, definitely. My sleeper defense now is Oakland. I say it every week. Target is playing the Jets. So many turnovers. I said to play who they were playing last week, and look what happened. And you were rewarded. Start Oakland if you don't have an elite defense.
My sleeper defense this week is the Ravens. The Vikings been pretty bad as of late, and the Ravens are a good defensive team as of late.
So that's it for now. And thanks for watching. Leave a comment, subscribe, follow us on Twitter at FfInTheZone. And thank you for watching, everybody.